Part 5. Wow, this is taking a long time. But I want to make sure that everybody has the whole story. Well, it's not the whole story, but there's more information I could give you, but I'm trying to condense it a little bit. Okay, Part 4. Well, CCNO didn't give me my medicine. I was out in the general population. And then they call me and tell me I'm going to Defiance for my arraignment. Surprised me. I didn't think I'd go there for a day or two. Well, they got me out, got me in the special bus they have, took me to the court. Was going in for my arraignment. Surprised me, Mr. Sheriff Westrick himself was there at the arraignment. He doesn't even go to the arraignments for a murder. But yet he went to little old mine. I must be some kind of celebrity or something. Well, because I hadn't had my medication, because I hadn't had anything that I needed, during the whole hearing it was kind of like the black was come in and then fade out and in and out. Sometimes I felt like I was seeing stars. We talked to the judge. You know, the biggest surprise of all, I'm charged with 4 counts of aggravated arson, for up to 48 years in prison, and the judge lets me out on an OR bond. Own recognizance, no money down, no nothing. I think the judge realizes they don't have a case and he doesn't want to get sued. Well, technically I can't sue the judge, but I could cause a lot of trouble. But they released me on my own recognizance. I was hoping that I contacted my attorney, Mr. Arnold. We talked it over. We dropped the lawsuit without prejudice. It was my hope that Defiance would let it go, back down, if they knew they weren't going to be sued anymore. I was hoping against hope that they would drop the charges, but they didn't, because they know that without dropping the case without prejudice means that they can be sued anytime up to a year later. So, during all this time, I had been reading the news. I had been taking and copying articles about some of the corruption. This is just some of the little bits of it. Let me share this with you. This is the Defiance Crescent News. This article is about City Officer Brian Kinner. He's been fired from his job 2 to 3 times. One time was because he was charged. Let me read it so we get it correctly now. Kinner broke into an occupied home in Defiance with a group of other people, caused physical harm. The indictment alleged he committed burglary, assault, and aggravated rioting. Well, that indictment, those cases were later dismissed because apparently one of the witnesses changed their story. Imagine that. Imagine some of the city cops got a hold of him, made his life a living hell, or whoever it was that living hell, so that they backed down. Typical Defiance behavior. Sound familiar? Well, there was also some more articles about not only the city police, but the sheriff, the deputies. Well, this one article is from April 7th, 2009. A former Defiance County Associate Deputy has been sentenced in common pleas court on 2 theft-related charges. A. Jamison Clark was convicted of stealing copper wire from GM's powertrain plant. He was also a sheriff's deputy during the commission of this crime. That's such a nice man. Great person to serve and protect. October 12th, 2008 in the Crescent News. There's an article about Gary Smitty and David Westrick. They were squaring off for the election. Smitty was accused of several things, including domestic violence, sexual relations with a female on duty, insubordination, and making personal phone calls on a sheriff-issued cell phone. While Sheriff Westrick is accused of nepotism and that his son, Andrew Westrick, an assistant deputy who reported a break-in at his home and reported that some pills had been stolen, but it later came out that Andrew Westrick admitted that he himself had removed the medications and that he was addicted to painkillers. Wow, another great example, shining example to serve and protect. It also states in other articles that Sheriff Westrick uses his position to harass and abuse the people he takes a dislike to. I can vouch for that. Last year's election is the first time in 24 years that anyone opposed Sheriff Westrick. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because Sheriff Westrick will abuse his power, and anybody who runs against him, he will make their life a living hell. And this here, we'll get to that in a few seconds. About a year ago, my son Nick was on trial. He was being tried for robbery out at Walmart. He has never been able to come back from everything that had happened to all of us. He just can't get his life straightened. God help him, because I love him to death, but I hate the things he does. But anyway, the day in court, I got a clue as to why, much bigger clue as to why he's been doing the things that he's been doing. Nick told me, because it was a pre-trial, so the lawyers were in their little room chit-chatting. Anyway, he told me that he thought he was the one who had set the house on fire. He said he got up in the morning, early, wanted to smoke a cigarette, didn't want to go outside to do it. He lit a candle to cover the smell, and he smoked a cigarette. He heard some noise. He thought it was me or one of them getting up. He hurried up, threw it into the fireplace, and then he went to bed so he wouldn't get caught. Is it possible the fire started that way? Probably, maybe, I don't know. Does he need to be charged? Do I need to be charged with this? No, it was an accident. A stupid, awful accident. I think that Defiance's harassment, the things that happened to me, and his guilt that he's been carrying for 2-3 years now, that he might have started the fire, I think that's what has made him do the stupid and criminal things that he's done. I hope now that he's admitted, I hope now we can get him the help when he gets out of prison. We can get him settled down. Oh, funny thing too, well, it's not funny, but it's true. Nick and 3 other kids committed the robbery together. They didn't have any weapons or anything. I mean, that doesn't make it right or better. It's just the 3 other kids that were with Nick, and they were just as bad as he was. They had been in trouble with the law repeatedly. They got 6 months or less. My son, Nicholas, got 4 years. Why the difference? Because his name was on the lawsuit, and he's suing all of them too. All my children are.